This episode is brought to you by Pure Astrology Reading Cards. For more information, check out the link in the show notes. Welcome to the Starzology Astrology Podcast. I'm your host, Alison Price, and in this episode I'm going to be chatting with you about solar cycles. So one of the fundamental skills in forecasting is learning to track the transiting sun. Now, I'm not saying that this is the first planet you would learn, because typically when you're learning transits, you work from Pluto inwards. But as a beginner astrologer, if you can track the transiting sun, it will give you some insights into how it's affecting your chart as it goes through the houses and through the aspects it makes to your chart. So this involves following the sun's daily motion as it moves through the zodiac over the course of a year. And to understand this movement as well, this is where you're going to understand about seasonal changes and how the astrological influences shift as the sun is moving. So the sun travels along a specific path known as the plane of the ecliptic, and only locations on Earth between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn can actually experience the sun directly overhead. This is between the two tropics. So every year we experience 4 distinct seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And these seasons all begin as the sun ingresses or enters one of the 4 cardinal signs. And just to remind you, the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So if we just have a bit of a closer look at these cardinal ingresses, and I'm talking Northern Hemisphere here. So the sun will enter Aries around March the 21st. Now, of course, it can be the day before or the day after. It does fluctuate each year. Now, this typically marks the beginning of spring. And it's also known as the vernal equinox. When the sun enters Cancer around June 21st, this is the beginning of summer. And it's also known as the summer solstice. Later in the year, as the sun enters Libra around September 21st, this is now the beginning of autumn. And this is known also as the autumnal equinox. And then finally, as the sun enters Capricorn, which is around December 21st, this is known as the beginning of winter. It's also known as the winter solstice, or even Saturnalia. We have done a podcast on that. I'll put a link to it below. So let's just get back to these dates. Even though we say the 21st, because that's really the average, what actually happens is that these dates can either be the day before or the day after. It depends where you are on Earth. And also, for 3 years, the dates shift slightly forward, and then at leap year, it resets. So these dates can be that we are saying around the 21st, but you'll see that on some years that's the day before or even the day after. Now, whilst we talk about a cardinal ingress when we're referring to the sun entering a cardinal sign, of course, the planets can also ingress or enter a sign as well. So these events are then referred to by specifying the planet and the cardinal sign. So when we say the Aries cardinal ingress, we are always referring to the sun. But if you wanted to talk about, say, Mercury's cardinal ingress to Libra, you would then actually specify that it's Mercury you're talking about and not the sun. But when no planet's name is mentioned, by default, it means it's the sun. So when planets, of course, enter signs or other signs or even houses and that, you would still refer to them as Mercury's cardinal ingress of Libra. So let's just have a bit of a closer look at the sun's movement. So there's 365 days in a year and there's 360 degrees in a circle. So on average, the sun's moving just around 1 degree a day. It's not exactly that, and it does fluctuate. This daily motion will fluctuate from about 57 minutes to 1 degree, 3 minutes, depending how close the Earth is to the sun at that time. But what this does mean is that the sun is basically going to be in the same degree on the same day every year, give or take a day. So as I want to say, as a beginner astrologer or someone who's just starting out or even a practicing astrologer, the first thing we're going to do here is to find the actual day when the sun will cross your ascendant. So the sun will not only cross your ascendant on a particular day, but it will also enter each of your houses on just about the same day every single year. Now, this is specific to you, and it's different for me or the next person. And what I'm trying to get to here is that if you can align with the solar energy and know which house the sun is transiting through of your chart at any given time, you can better align yourself with this solar energy. Because as the sun comes through your chart, it's like it's got a spotlight, and the spotlight's moving from the first house to the second house to the third house and onwards. And you need to know, where is the solar energy spotlighting for you at this time? So, for example, let me give you an example. If your ascendant is 4 degrees Leo, as mine is, the sun will cross your ascendant and enter your first house around July the 27th each year. So that's what it is for me. The sun goes from my 12th house and enters the first house, and that will be on July the 21st. Which is actually a great time that I look forward to in the year, because whilst the sun is in my 12th house, it's a very slow and withdrawn time. I almost want to say that you're going from the darkness into the light as the sun enters your first house. And when the sun crosses my ascendant, I once more feel invigorated and alive. So as the sun is entering from one house to the next, of course, the 12th to the 1st is, I think, the biggest shift there is. It is going to change the focus of what you should be doing. I don't want to say should. It will change the focus of what you want to be doing, because the sun is your wants, whereas the moon perhaps is your needs. But this is what you want to be spending your energy on and doing things. And where your heart is, you're going to put your heart into these areas as well. So as the sun transits through each house of your natal chart, it will bring light, warmth, and a sense of vitality to those areas of your life represented by each house. The sun's energy will illuminate these areas and make them more prominent and allow you to focus your efforts effectively. So if you can align your personal activities, what you're doing, with a transiting sun, it can enhance your well-being and success as well. Now, for you to follow along and get these dates for each of your house ingresses by the sun, I have created a little PDF download that you can get from my website. So if you go to starzology.com and scroll to the top menu where it says freebies, so on the freebies page, the one that says Solar Transit Checklist is the one that I'm talking about. And you can download that PDF. So it has a sheet there. It's like a worksheet where you can list out the date, not only the date, but the sign and the degree of each of your house cusps. And then also you can find the sun's date, or I should say the date when the sun is actually going to cross that point. Now, you'll need to have an ephemeris or whatever, some software to find these dates. I'm not providing that, but I am providing you the table to fill in so that you can follow along with each. So you've got each of these 12 dates when the sun is ingressing each of your houses. So that's on the orange sheet. And then on the blue sheet, which is, I'm also providing some sun transit interpretations just to get you going, just to whet your appetite. And of course, you can work further on those too. Additionally, in that PDF, there is also a cover page, which is I call it's a binder cover page or a file cover page if you're working with astrology. And it's really just an astrological coloring page. I give it to all my students who come by, depending what class you're taking or whatever topic or presentation you happen to be at. And it's a fun thing. You can sit there and doodle and color in and make it all your very own. And then also in the PDF handout there is I've shown the solar sine wave where it is where the sun's path is rising from the celestial equator, going up to the solstice, coming back to the second equinox, and then going back down to the final solstice. So, and that then is also broken into each of the 12 signs. And ideally you could print a couple of those and put your planets within the signs and see where they are seasonally, obviously. And then where, as the sun is coming through, you get a better idea of when these conjunctions are actually going to occur. So let's just have a look at the sun's journey through the houses. I'm just going to go through some solar transits of each of the houses and give you some ideas of the sorts of things that you can anticipate depending on which house the sun is for you. And of course, if you think about it, it's going to be in one of the houses today. And really, you need to know which house is the sun transiting. So as the sun is going through your first house, which is the house of self-identity and beginnings, it's a time for self-expression and new beginnings. You feel more self-assured and energized. So good activities to do are to start some new undertakings, set personal goals, and embrace opportunities for self-improvement. You can launch personal projects and pursue new goals. Use this time to show confidence and assertiveness in all you do. When the sun goes through your second house of finances and values, this will now highlight all your financial matters, your money matters, self-esteem, and personal values. Things to do now are to review and adjust your budget, make wise investments, and clarify what is most important to you. Consider how your resources align with your values. As the transiting sun enters your third house of communication and learning, it's a time for social interactions as they become emphasized. This is a great period to study, teach, write, or engage in meaningful conversations. Things to do now are to learn new skills, write, teach, or enhance your communication strategies. You can now strengthen relationships with your siblings, cousins, and neighbors. As the transiting sun enters and passes through your fourth house of home and family, it shines a light on your home, family, and your emotional foundations. You may feel a stronger connection with your own roots and a desire to improve your living space or take more time with loved ones. Now is the time to spend quality time with family, develop your living space, and reflect on your personal roots. This is a good period for home projects and nurturing family bonds. As the transiting sun moves through your fifth house of creativity and pleasure, it will focus creativity, romance, and recreational activities. This is a joyful time to explore hobbies, engage in artistic endeavors, and enjoy leisure activities. You can now embrace romantic relationships and let your playful side shine. As the sun transits the sixth house of health and work, this will now emphasize your health, your daily routines, and your work. So it's a favorable period to focus on improving your well-being, organizing your daily life, and excelling in your personal duties. This is now a time to improve your wellness routines, such as diet and exercise. You can organize your workspace and focus on productivity. Now is the time to consider how you can be of service to others in your daily life. As the transiting sun goes through your seventh house of partnerships and relationships, it is a time to fortify the bonds between you and the other. Seek balance in your interactions and collaborate effectively with others. Now is the time to strengthen personal and professional relationships and seek balance within these interactions, finding the middle ground. And it's also a time to consider new partnerships, both business and personal. Now is the time to work on conflict resolution and provide mutual support. As the transiting sun goes through the eighth house of transformation and shared resources, it brings attention to the deep connections and shared resources you have with others. This is an opportune time for introspection, addressing joint finances, or delving into psychological and emotional growth. Now you can look into some personal transformations and explore deeper psychological and emotional realms of your psyche. This is a time for significant inner work. As the sun transits through your ninth house of travel and philosophy, it illuminates and brings a focus to travel, higher education, and philosophical pursuits. This period encourages you to expand your horizons, explore new ideas, and embrace adventure. Things to do now are to travel, work on some higher education, explore new philosophies or spiritual practices. Embrace adventures that broaden your perspective. As the transiting sun is going through your 10th house of career and public life, this is a time when you can work on your public image, your reputation, and your ambitions. You could experience increased recognition and the drive to achieve your long-term goals. Things to do now are to pursue all career goals, seek recognition for your work, and reflect on your long-term ambitions. It's a time to shine in your professional life. This is the time to play the long game, as the transiting sun enters your 11th house of community and goals. The focus then shifts to community involvement, friendships, and aspirations. It's a good time to network, collaborate with groups, and pursue your dreams. Things to do now are to join or build a team or organization, cooperate with like-minded individuals. Now you can work towards your aspirations with the support of the community. And then finally, as the sun enters the last house, the 12th house of spirituality and solitude, this brings light to those areas, spirituality, solitude, and inner reflection. This is a period for introspection, healing, and connecting with your deeper self. Things to do now are to perhaps meditate and do some spiritual practices or prayer. And you can use this time for healing, rest, and connecting with your inner self. So the idea is if you can align your activities with the transiting sun, it really is something that you can pay attention to on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't take a lot of work to work all these things out. And if you can align your personal activities with the transiting sun, it allows you to harness its vibrant energy and enhance various aspects of your life. The sun's journey through each house in your natal chart brings a focus and vitality to the corresponding areas and gives you opportunities for growth and improvement in those houses. By consciously aligning your activities with the transiting sun's position, you can make the most of its energy as it goes through each house. This personal alignment of you and the sun helps you navigate different areas of life more effectively so that you can foster growth, create internal balance, and find fulfillment. Each house shift offers unique opportunities to enhance your life, and this is all guided by the sun's illuminating presence. And honestly, as an astrology teacher, I like to give you a little bit of homework, which I call extending yourself. So here we go. So this is your first thing, to extend yourself with the house cusps. Using your birth chart, an ephemeris, and the solar transit tracker, which you've downloaded previously, or your astrology journal if you want to do the following. Number 1, list the houses out from 1 to 12. Find the degree and sign of each of your house cusps, and then starting at the ascendant, which is the first house, and using the ephemeris, find the date that the transiting sun will enter each of your 12 houses. Because, as I said earlier, this will be the same day, give or take a day, every single year. So if it's the 27th of July, it's the 27th of July. Then you can extend yourself further, and you can actually start considering. The next step would be to find the dates when the sun is going to conjoin every single one of your planets, because it will come as a transit. It will come to that planet. There'll be the applying bit, the actual conjunction, and then the separating. So I use a 1 degree orb applying and separating, but basically there's going to be one day in each year when the sun is, say, for instance, conjoined your moon, conjoined your Jupiter, conjoined your Saturn. And of course, on that special day when the sun is conjoined your sun, that will actually be your solar return. We also do have a podcast about the solar return, and I'll put a link about that below as well. Now, once you've worked out all the sun's conjunctions to your chart, I invite you to extend yourself even further and work out all the oppositions, the trines, the squares, and the sextiles from the transiting sun to your chart, to the planets in your chart. And also you can look, of course, to the cusps, particularly the ascendant and midheaven. They would be more of interest with these aspects. I would only suggest at this stage that you look into the 5 Ptolemaic aspects, which I've just mentioned, and not do the minor aspects or the lesser used aspects. You know, who really does have time? So this is my challenge to you. This is one way of learning about astrology. If you're a beginner, to say, well, where is the sun today? oh, it's at whatever degree, it's at 27 Gemini. And you would then say, well, where is that in my chart? And therefore you can say straight away, oh, so the sun is transiting through my 5th house or my 8th house. And you can then align yourself, your energies and what you want to do with what is represented by each of these houses. So just to remind you, you can get the solar tracker from Starzology.com. Go to the page that says freebies. If you scroll to the menu at the top, the very top, there's a page there that says freebies. Go there and pick up your PDF download so you can follow along. You don't need to. You can just write it straight in your journal if you're actually following along with what I'm saying. You can email us at starzology@gmail.com and, of course, visit our website at starzology.com. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, you can go to the podcast show notes, and at the top it says there, send your astro questions to Starzology, and you would text your question. Please do sign your name at the bottom because I don't know who you are when it comes through. And these questions that you're posing, Arwen and I will answer at each of our Q&A sessions, which is every 25th episode. We've recently just done our 100th, so that was a big one. But we are always looking for questions for you. Now, if you've got a very simple question, we will just answer it within the actual Q&A sessions. Alternatively, if you've got a big, fat, juicy question, we may actually then create a full podcast episode to address your questions. And the funny thing is that many of you come through and you're all basically asking the same questions, and that clues us in to realize that we do need to do a full episode on that particular area. I'd like to thank everybody who is supporting the podcast. There is a link in the show notes if you'd like to provide us some financial support. We do appreciate it. It does help the podcast keep going. And so you don't miss a thing, I invite you to join my newsletter, which is you can find it at starzology.com/newsletter. Sign up. I send out a newsletter about astrology topics every Sunday of interest, supporting what we're looking at, what we're doing, and it's pure astrology. There's nothing else in there. And you can unsubscribe if you don't like it, but I would like to invite you to join because you might find some benefit or find some interest, and it gives you something to think about during the course of the week. So I'm Alison Price. Thank you so much for being here. We will see you next time. Bye. Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the two main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer or someone who's learning astrology or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.